Hello and welcome to Harper Broadcast. I'm Amrita Tripathi. I'm so delighted to have with us here Amitav Ghosh. Thank you for taking the time for this interview.
Thank you for having me, Amrita. It's a great pleasure.
I don't know how many interviews I've done with you by now. I think 3 or 4.
Yes,
so
several.
I always count on getting time with you.
Yes.
We wanted to celebrate. It's been 30 years of writing for you, and obviously a little bit more than that because you used to write as a
Yes.
child as well.
Yes.
But what an incredible moment! You just got a Lifetime Achievement Award as well. So congratulations.
Thank you very much. Actually, I'm going to get it tomorrow, but
Okay.
yes, it's wonderful to have it. Yes, it feels like a wonderful moment. Exactly because my first book was published in 1986, and this is 30 years later.
Does it ever sink in that this is kind of, it's a big moment for anyone, but a Lifetime Achievement Award is kind of just very concrete, very tangible, and of course you have legions of fans, which I think almost as soon as you started, there's been Amitav Ghosh fans in this country and abroad.
No. I think it's been a long, steady process, and when I began to write, the readership of books was very small in India. There was no publishing industry. There were no festivals. There were not even any venues for reading or anything. So yeah, I feel like in a way my career, my lifetime in publishing has sort of paralleled this enormous, phenomenal growth of the whole literary world in India.
And I remember you had said once earlier that awards are important sort of early in your career because it sort of gives you a boost in terms of visibility, but you don't take them very seriously either.
Well, that doesn't sound like a very gracious thing to say when you're getting an award.
But no.
It's very nice to have an award, but yes, awards are the icing on the cake, if you like. The cake itself is the writing, so it's wonderful to have the recognition. It's really a great sense of affirmation, but even if there were no awards, I would still be writing.
Yeah. You wrapped up the Ibis Trilogy. I did want to ask you this because the last time we met, we were talking about the Ibis Trilogy. That was a huge body of work. Do you feel sometimes that sort of nostalgia that it's done, or do you have thoughts of continuing it somehow?
Strangely, usually when you finish a book or a project, you feel that the nostalgia that you're speaking of. But actually, by the time I finished the Ibis Trilogy, I just felt a great sense of fulfillment, This is what I had set out to do, and I really, it's quite rare when you set out to write a book or 3 books for that matter. It's quite rare that you feel at the end of it that you've really come where you wanted it to come, And I did feel that at least 80% of the way. So yes, I felt a great sense of fulfillment. But that project is over.
Yeah.
But the characters, the people, the histories, those aren't over. Those are still in my head, and I'm sure I'll return to them, for the rest of my life.
Yeah. I know that Hungry Tide has been reissued with these lovely covers, which we're going to be showing our viewers as well.
Yeah, it's a brilliant cover, and there's a story behind the cover.
Oh, do tell us.
HarperCollins decided to rejacket it, and they sent me several jacket designs, and they were all really good. And I couldn't decide between was it 2 or 3 of them. They were all so good. So we decided to do a Twitter campaign and put it out to vote because really, they were both very, very good covers. So many people voted, and finally, the one that got the most votes is actually the cover now.
You crowdsourced the cover.
We crowdsourced the cover, if you like.
That's interesting. Go on Twitter and check that out, I think, and see the sort of response you got. There's also talk of a movie.
Yes, and I can confirm that actually the movie is going to go ahead. It's an Indo-Canadian production, and they have a director on board. Her name is Veena Sood.
Okay.
She's of Indian-Canadian origin, and she's made one series which has been hugely successful, a very good series called The Killing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, she was the writer and producer on that, and she's going to be writer-director on this one. So, she's an enormously talented, writer, director, and so on. So, I think she'll do something wonderful with it.
So, will you be associated with the sort of the script writing, the screenplay?
No. No, I have too many other things to do.
Oh, okay. And that might be a difficult, I think, position for a writer to be in as well. Right? You just have to give it over and be like, do what you will with this.
I completely agree. I think, when you have a director the director should leave her stamp on it. I mean, whenever those are the sort of collaborations that really work. Especially in relation to film and literature. It's when the director has really sort of, upnowed the writing that it becomes, as it were, something powerful and memorable.
Yeah, but there's no part of you that's kind of like, I don't know how this is going to go, or have you made your peace with the fact?
I've completely made my peace with it, really.
Yeah.
I think, I don't know whether I'll like it or love it. I imagine it won't be easy to confront it, but yeah, you just, it's like your children. I mean, they go out and do things and you may or may not like what they do.
It's exciting news certainly for your readers, but I think this is always a perennial question that comes back to any reader is, was the movie better than the book or vice versa? Or was the movie as good as the book? So we'll wait to see, and we'll get everyone on Twitter to let us know.
Sometimes when it works really well is as with Michael Ondaatje's The English Patient.
Yeah.
And again, that was the same thing. I mean, he got a director, a very great director, who actually remade the entire thing. And, the book and the movie are completely different.
That's true. Yeah.
And they're both very good in their own ways.
You want to talk about something that you've been very, very vocal about. You've written a book called A Great Derangement. You've given talks and lectures on climate change. And I didn't think the time would come that you and Leonardo DiCaprio would be on the same, sort of mission. But it does sound from what you say that we tend to have this sort of escapist attitude towards what's happening. I mean, would you say that's fair?
I think it's a very complicated story. I mean, really, when you mentioned Leonardo DiCaprio, I think hats off to him, but also to many other Hollywood stars and directors and so on, who've actually gotten very involved in this issue, much more than writers, really. It's quite striking that it's film people who've really recognized the seriousness and the gravity of, what we're up against. In India, actually, hardly anyone speaks about climate change, which is not to say that there's not a big climate change community. It's just that they're not visible. So I must say, to me, one of the great surprises of this book is that as soon as it came out, it got a very powerful response. A lot of people read it, a lot of people discussed it, and that continues. So that's very encouraging for me. I think people are responding. People do understand that something very, very difficult and dangerous is on its way. Yeah. It's kind of interesting that we are sitting here right in front of the gateway of India. But because of sea level rise, now at high tide, the water often comes almost up to the top of that. I've seen this plaza completely underwater.
Oh, gosh.
The plaza of the Gateway of India. And if you think about it, if, one of the things I do in the book is that I describe the possibility of what would happen in Mumbai if it were to be hit by a major cyclone.
And finally, I do want to ask you what you're reading right now and any favorite 2 or 3 favorite writers you might have.
Oh, I have lots of favorite writers. Actually, one of the writers I'm reading right now, actually, no, more than that. 2 of the writers that I'm reading now, 3 of them are here.
Oh.
Yes, one is John Gray, an English philosopher.
Okay.
A very interesting mind, So he's here. Srinath Raghavan, the historian and so on. He's here. Ram Guha, my old friend,
nice.
And the great historian, he's here as well.
Yeah.
So I'm reading his new book, Democrats and Dissenters.
Wonderful. So do you think festivals also become a way to sort of catch up with people you enjoy reading as a reader as much as a writer? Or you don't get that much time?
I think in festivals you're just rushing about really from one thing to another. So I can't honestly say that I've ever had a good conversation at a festival. It's just hello, how are you, that kind of thing.
And then you rush to the next session.
Then you rush to the next session. Yes, that's really it.
But you have seen, as you were saying, the phenomenon has changed so much. Since you started writing to now, are you sort of bullish on how the publishing and readership scene is in India for writers in English, for example?
Certainly, one of the things that's really happened is that the reading public has grown vastly. What part festivals and so on have to do in that? I'm not sure. I think that growth is independent in a way.
Yeah.
But it's good that there are more readers, that the whole sort of world of reading and writing is expanding. So all of that is good.
Well, we'll leave it on that note. Thank you so much, Amitav Ghosh, again.
Thank you, Amrita. Thank you.
And I'm going to take advantage of having you here to get to
Of course, I'd be happy to.